Tarun Khanna heads the Lakshmi Mittal and Family South Asia Institute at Harvard University, which was created in 2017 when steel tycoon Lakshmi Mittal donated $25 million to Harvard. Khanna is a commission member of the Atal Innovation Mission, which is advertised as a flagship initiative set up by the Niti Aayog to promote innovation and entrepreneurship across the country.
Apex body for innovation and creativity in India, to foster entrepreneurs, to foster creativity more generally, so we can all collectively move a society forward.
He is also a co-chair of the Committee on Developing Science and Technology Clusters at the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor, Government of India. Thus, Khanna has managed to make inroads for Harvard into the Indian government. Along with his positions at Harvard and the Niti Aayog, Tarun Khanna has also been a visiting thought leader at the China-Europe International Business School, CEIBS, which is a venture between the European Union and the Chinese government. This gives Tarun Khanna the power to be a bridge between the Chinese Communist Party and the Indian government. These connections provide China with potential routes to influence and control India. Tarun Khanna is also passively promoting Harvard's Ajanta Subramaniam, who wants to dismantle the IITs because they are institutions that have excelled on the basis of merit, which Subramaniam says is an oppressive structure that produces unequal outcomes for the marginalized. Khanna co-edited a book called Making Meritocracy: Lessons from China and India from Antiquity to the Present, which is a collection of papers presented at the Shanghai Meritocracy Workshop. Harvard conducted this workshop in Shanghai, China, to discuss merit in China and India. Many Indian scholars, including Ashwini Deshpande of Ashoka University, Ajanta Subramaniam of Harvard, Ashutosh Varshney, an ex-Harvard Kennedy Fellow, Devesh Kapoor and Madan Lal Sopti from the University of Pennsylvania participated. The distinction between the Indian and the Chinese experts was glaring. While the Chinese spoke proudly of the role meritocracy played in building the greatness and glory of China, the Indian participants tried to discredit meritocracy in India's context with a narrative of shame. In March 2022, Harvard made the announcement that the India Policy Insights IPI was a collaborative initiative between the Niti Aayog and the Geographic Insights Lab at Harvard Center for Population and Development Studies and the Center for Geographic Analysis at Harvard. Niti Aayog also hired V. Subramaniam, the Harvard University IPI head, as an honorary senior fellow at the Niti Aayog. Thus, another sensitive database of India was given to Harvard by Niti Aayog. One would think that India, through its Atmanirbhar program, would initiate such research on home turf with skills and personnel from India to embark on this population database study. Snakes in the Ganga talks about how critical race theory is being mapped onto India as critical caste theory. Already, we see some examples on the ground. The praxis of caste equals race is applied in the Indian context, evidence in the studies emerging from the Niti Aayog-supported Harvard Population and Development Studies Department, which, by the way, falls under the Chinese Communist Party-funded T.H. Chan School of Public Health at Harvard. Study finds large disparities in life expectancies between different castes in India, suggesting diverse systems of discrimination akin to racism. This Harvard research, thanks to Niti Aayog, is making such wild claims, uses survey data on more than 20 million individuals from 9 Indian states, representing approximately half of India's total population, to estimate life expectancy differences between those from higher castes, example Hindus, and 3 marginalized social groups, namely the Adivasis, Dalits, and Muslims. Another research published at the Harvard Population and Development Studies Department in the Chan School was titled Politics of Caste and Class Go Under Microscope in Effort to Combat Child Poverty in India, which claimed that states whose political regimes are historically dominated by upper caste groups tend to have an adverse effect on poor children of lower castes compared to states dominated by lower caste groups. This adverse effect is amplified in wealthier states. The Niti Aayog has clearly not done its due diligence before handing over such sensitive studies to Harvard to manage. Harvard's penetration into India became much deeper when the government established the National Education Policy in 2020. This was a windfall for the US social sciences and humanities colleges, which are essentially businesses in the education space. The new policy allows US universities to directly establish a trust in India for the purpose of fundraising from Indian donors of all sizes. Taking advantage of this policy, Harvard immediately established an office in New Delhi. It now enjoys a tax-free status in India, and Indian businessmen, NGOs, and philanthropic organizations get tax deductions for donating to Harvard in India. Harvard has used its coziness with the Niti Aayog to ensure its interests are well represented in India. Niti Aayog is advocating Harvard's interests to ensure that Harvard and foreign universities have total independence when it comes to curriculum, which it can use to indoctrinate Indian students with the Harvard worldview of thinking about society. We are working on different models for the government to adopt. Very soon, we will submit a report to the Prime Minister's office, a senior Niti Aayog official said. This includes a draft bill that aims to provide transparent and single e-window clearance for foreign education providers and a set of regulations to ensure the academic and administrative independence is not in jeopardy. Clearly, while the Niti Aayog is advocating for the academic freedom of foreign universities, it is worthwhile to learn from Singapore's Education Ministry, which refused to support the misuse of academic freedom by Yale University on Singaporean soil. Thus, countries like Singapore are terminating their experiments with American-style liberal arts education, while India, it seems, is on full throttle to bring these universities into India.